Thank you so much for this lovely introduction. I love the energy, and it's my absolute honor to be standing in front of you today. My name is Maréva Koulamallah. I am the founder of a PR and marketing agency based here in the beautiful UAE. We help our clients with their strategic approach to communication, finding and elevating their voices. Today, I'm going to walk you through what I like to call the power of in-between, finding home across culture. Have you ever been asked and struggled to answer the question, where are you really from? Well, I have, many times, and I'm sure you too. Why? Because I am not made of one thing, and neither are you. We are the product of the many beautiful pieces that make us, and we should be proud of every single one of them. So you might be wondering, how am I relevant to this topic? Well, I am the result of a very mixed environment. I was raised in a multicultural, multilingual, multicolored, multi-religious family. Let me repeat this. Multicultural, multilingual, multicolored, multi-religious family. I was born in Chad, in wonderful Africa, and I grew up in Southeast France, surrounded by friends from all backgrounds and all colors. And then I studied between France and the United States. In the course of my career, I also lived in Dubai, in New York, in London. I spent quite a bit of time in Germany and Switzerland. I speak several languages, so by definition, I am an in between countries, in between cultures, and in between environments. I had to constantly adapt myself, adapt my voice, and find my home. So I hope that by sharing a bit of my professional and personal journey with you today, that resonates and help you find some answers. First, we're going to look into finding your voice and the mosaic of you. See, finding one's voice has so many ways to happen. The first thing I believe is to have a willingness to learn, to have a curiosity and be ready to take on challenges. The next thing is about trials, failures, and that one is really important, but also acceptance. Moving forwards. See, detours and roadblocks are not full stop. And I'll come back to this in a minute. And then there's something I like to call the boundaries box and the ethical line. Because it is equally important to find yourself, who you are, but to find it while understanding the people around you. See, you're going to go through life, and that journey will have so many waves. And the thing that will help you hold on is that line. So I always say to my team, regardless of the circumstances, but especially when things go wrong, it's about holding on to that ethical line for dear lives. Because your voice, your words will be what you're remembered by. It will open or close doors for you. Before I continue, I see a beautiful audience. I know this is a talk today focused on youth, but I see different generations, so I just want to get an understanding of who we have in the room today. So everyone that's under 30 years old, because that's young according to society standards, please raise your hand. All right, a good half of the room. Everyone else, the 30 plus years old, please raise your hand. Awesome. See, that's the beauty of intergenerational connection and relationship. And I'll come back to this after. Moving on, the in-between, it's about thriving at crossroads. So let me ask you another question here. Please raise your hand if you live in the country where you were born. You are the minority. That's also very specific to our region. But in reality, in our world today, being different, being the odd one, is no longer the minority. We are the majority. So we talked about finding your voice, understanding who you are. We're not talking about how to thrive with that voice and understanding your environment. So you have access today to travel, and with social media, you get exposure to people that are totally different from you. And that's the beauty of our world. You also have access to technology that helps you go quicker, find alternative. See, back in my day, approximately 15 years ago, and I'll leave it at that, we were at the beginning of social media, so we still had to go literally door to door to connect with people and network. It has its advantage because we could keep the authenticity layer. See, today you have opportunities, but you also have a challenge because that voice needs to remain authentic. So I believe you need to make the extra effort to define who you are and what anchors you. See, when you're going to navigate this world and the people around you, you want to make sure that you stand differently, but you also stand for the right reasons. We've talked about finding a voice, understanding what's around us. We talked about intergenerational relationship. Now I want to touch about your story, how you can claim it, how you can own your truth, and through that, how you can find home. Who in the room wants to become an entrepreneur? All right, an interesting number. Who wants to work in the corporate world or give a try to the public sector? That's interesting. We have more entrepreneurs. I love that. No disrespect to the corporate world. I've had my journey there as well. So we have to find ways to communicate and open doors, as I mentioned before. PwC, Middle East, which I'm sure a lot of you know, recently had a survey, and I was very honored to be one of the experts quoted there, where they listed 4 key entrepreneurial skills: networking, effective communication, relationship building, and storytelling. So you can understand how they all relate to connecting with each other. That's going to be what makes the difference for you. This is where you want your voice to be impactful. See, not finding a voice, navigating the world randomly, you're still going to have a beautiful journey, but it's not going to be as powerful. Another key skill that they highlight is what's called cross-cultural respect. And for me, it's paramount. I mentioned how diverse our world is, how diverse our region is. If you want to be able to connect to others, you have to be respectful of their background and vice versa. I also want to share a story with you about finding a voice and acceptance that I mentioned earlier. See, I was in your place a long time ago. And like I said, I studied in the US. I had this amazing opportunity. It was a lot of sacrifices for my family and I to be able to do that. And I had one obsession, is to be able to graduate in New Jersey where I studied and then worked in New York, and especially in the heart of Manhattan. Not only that, I wanted to work in my field, which at the time was marketing. I had just had a double major in management, leadership, and marketing. I was obsessed. And I support anyone who has dreams and ambition. You should absolutely go for what you want. However, you should also be mindful of the fact that there's not one linear path. Like I said before, detours are okay. Redirection is often protection. What doesn't make sense now, trust me, in time it will. So at the time, I really wanted to find a job in marketing, especially in the cosmetic industry. Don't ask me why. I think there's still an interview that I've done with my university at the time available on their website where I say these exact words. Well, it didn't happen, and I'm doing totally fine. Before I founded my business, I had a career, and I ended up being a head of marketing in a cybersecurity group. The tech world, totally different. But what happened is, I didn't find a job in marketing. I found a job in inside sales. I hated it. I hated every bit of it. I was extremely frustrated, not understanding what I was doing in that job, how that was going to help me down the line. Fast forward to a decade later when I'm managing different regions and working in marketing. I became a better marketer because of it. I was able to connect with the sales colleagues more effectively to understand our strategic approach holistically in a different view. I am a better entrepreneur today because of the roles that I hated or what I thought were completely useless. So I want to tell you today that in the course of finding your voice and finding your home, if you feel like you don't know what you're doing or you're stuck, there might be a reason. You will not understand now, but trust me that in time you will. I want to also leave you with something. I asked a question, and I want to say it's okay to, one, not have an answer, maybe have multiple answers and not be sure. It's also okay not to answer to the question where you're from. See, I talked about cross-cultural respect. Well, home, for me, is not a place. Home is an emotion, a feeling, a moment that's attached to memory. So when people ask me the question, I have my voice and I know what I want to say in certain moments. But other days, even though I do have my voice, I simply feel like not answering or not sharing, and that's totally okay. Your voice, your home are not static. They will evolve with you, and it's up to you to decide how you stand by them. Lastly, I want to tell you that it's also okay sometimes to feel like you're from everywhere and nowhere at the same time. I woke up certain day feeling I'm more from one of my origin country than the others. I woke up the next day speaking one language better than the others, and my parents get confused. It's totally okay to be the pieces of all that mosaic. So I want to ask you again, have you ever been asked and struggled to answer the question where you're really from? Well, now I hope you can find your answer. Thank you.